poor girl offers her late father's shoes to a hidden millionaire, what he does next is shocking. The alarm blares at 4:30 am, and Amara's hand reaches out to silence it before it wakes her mother. In the dim light filtering through threadbare curtains, she kneels beside her bed and opens a worn wooden box. Inside rests a pair of polished brown leather shoes, too large for her feet, but perfectly preserved despite their age. She runs her fingers over them, a ritual that starts every day. "I'll make you proud today, Dad," she whispers, pressing the shoes briefly to her heart before carefully returning them to their sanctuary. The medicine bottles on the nightstand tell a story without words. Mrs. Santiego's heart condition has worsened. Amara counts the remaining pills, her face tightening with worry. 3 days' worth. The new prescription costs more than last month's electricity bill. As she adjusts her mother's blanket, Mrs. Santiago stirs. "You should be sleeping, Mika. Your shift doesn't start for another hour." "I wanted to make you breakfast before I go," Amara replies, forcing brightness into her voice. "The doctor said you need to eat with your medication." Her mother's eyes, so like her own, see through the facade. "You took another night shift, didn't you?" Amara busies herself with straightening already neat pillows. "Just temporary, Mama. The bakery needs extra hands for the holiday season." What she doesn't say: the bakery is barely staying afloat, and her second job at the convenience store barely covers the rent. Flashback: a tall man with Amara's smile kneels beside a 10-year-old Amara. "These shoes carried me from nothing to something, Mija," her father says, his voice warm with pride. "Not because they're fancy, but because they walked with purpose. Remember, it's not what you have, but what you do with it that matters." Young Amara nods solemnly as he polishes the shoes, teaching her each careful stroke. Back to present, Amara hurries down a street lined with small businesses, many with closing sale signs. At Morales Bakery, Amara ties her apron with practiced efficiency. The scent of fresh bread normally brings comfort, but today Mr. Morales' expression is grim as he reviews the books. 3 more cancellations for holiday orders, he sighs. "The new shopping center is killing us." "We'll figure something out," Amara assures him, though her own bills weigh heavily in her pocket. She sets to work, kneading dough with fierce determination. By midday, the bakery is quiet. Amara stands at the window, watching people hurry past without stopping. That's when she notices him. A man in his 30s, bearded and disheveled, sitting on a bench across the street. Despite his worn clothes, something about his posture seems out of place. He's watching people too, but with curious intensity rather than desperation. When the rain begins, he doesn't move. Everyone else rushes for cover, but he remains, seemingly lost in thought as water soaks through his thin jacket. "Mr. Morales, would it be okay if I took that day-old bread home?" Amara asks, eyes still on the stranger. "Of course, child. It'll just go to waste otherwise." Amara wraps the bread carefully, adds a still warm pastry from her own lunch, and steps into the rain. As she approaches the man, she notices his shoes, expensive once, but now cracked and splitting at the seams. "You look like you could use this," she says, offering the package. He looks up, startled, and for a moment, Amara glimpses something unexpected in his eyes, not hunger or gratitude, but a flash of guilt, quickly masked by a smile. "Thank you," he says, his voice cultured despite his appearance. "I'm Daniel." "Amara," she replies, then hesitates. "The bakery where I work is warm. If you need somewhere to sit for a while." Daniel studies her face, seeming to search for something. Whatever he sees makes him nod slowly. "That's very kind," he says, rising to follow her. Neither notices the sleek black car parked at the corner, nor the driver watching their interaction with obvious concern. Inside the vehicle, a phone rings. "Sir, I think we should end this experiment. The neighborhood isn't safe, and—" "No," comes the firm reply from Daniel's assistant. Mr. Reeves was clear. No interference for 72 hours unless there's immediate danger. "But, sir, he needs this, James. After what happened with the foundation scandal, he needs to remember why he started it all." As the car window rolls up, Amara holds the bakery door for Daniel, unaware that the rain-soaked stranger she's helping is worth more than every building on her street combined, or that her simple act of kindness is about to change both their lives forever. Inside Morales' bakery, the warmth envelops Daniel like an embrace after the cold rain. Amara gestures to a small table in the corner while Mr. Morales raises an eyebrow but says nothing. "Coffee," she offers, already pouring a cup. "On the house." Daniel wraps his hands around the mug, studying her as she moves efficiently behind the counter. "Why are you helping me?" he asks finally. Amara pauses, considering. "My father always said that kindness costs nothing but means everything." "Your father sounds wise." "He was." Her voice softens. "He passed 3 years ago. Heart attack." Daniel's practiced smile falters. For a moment, genuine emotion breaks through his carefully constructed facade. "I'm sorry. I lost my father too, recently." This isn't part of his cover story, it's true. The realization that he's shared something real with this stranger startles him. "Then you understand," Amara says simply, sliding a plate with warm bread and soup toward him. As Daniel eats, Amara notices his shoes again. Designer Oxfords, now ruined by weather and wear. He catches her looking. "They've seen better days," he admits. "I could," she begins, then stops herself. Her father's shoes flash in her mind, but she pushes the thought away. "I know someone who repairs shoes, not expensive either." Daniel nods, grateful for the suggestion, but more intrigued by what she didn't say. The next afternoon, Daniel returns, cleaner but still in his disguise. Mr. Morales is surprised to see him asking for Amara. "You made quite an impression," Mr. Morales tells her in the kitchen. "Be careful, mija. We don't know him." But something about Daniel feels familiar to Amara, like a song she can't quite remember. When her shift ends, they walk together through the neighborhood. Daniel listens as she points out changes: the community center that closed, the code playground equipment that needs repair, the elderly neighbors who can't afford to move despite rising rents. "You really care about this place," he observes. "It's home," she says simply. "Everyone here looks out for each other, or we try to." Daniel thinks of his penthouse overlooking the city, the emptiness that echoes through its perfect rooms. "That's rare," he says quietly. At the corner, Amara hesitates. "I should get home. My mother—" "Of course." Daniel steps back but adds, "I enjoyed talking with you." Same time tomorrow, the invitation surprises them both. Over the next week, Daniel becomes a fixture at the bakery. He helps with small tasks, washing dishes, sweeping floors, insisting it's payment for the food. Mr. Morales remains suspicious, but softens when Daniel fixes the ancient mixer that's been broken for months. Engineering background, Danielle explains vaguely when Amara asks. Their conversations deepen. Daniel carefully edits his stories, but shares real passions: sustainable architecture, community development, his dream of creating spaces that bring people together rather than divide them. Amara tells him about her interrupted nursing studies, abandoned when her father died and bills mounted. Someday, she says, but her voice lacks conviction. On Friday, Danielle arrives to find Amara absent. Mr. Morales explains she's at the hospital with her mother. Nothing serious, he assures Daniel, but her medication needed adjustment. Daniel's hand tightens around his coffee cup. He knows what adjustment often means. The insurance won't cover the previous prescription anymore. That evening, Daniel waits outside Amara's apartment building. When she finally appears, exhaustion lines her face. "You shouldn't be here," she says, but her relief at seeing him is evident. "I was worried." The sincerity in his voice surprises him. They sit on the steps, and Amara's composure finally cracks. "The new medication is triple the cost. I don't know how—" She stops, embarrassed. "I'm sorry." "Not your problem." Daniel fights the urge to solve everything with his checkbook, a habit that's caused problems before. Instead he asks, "Can I help somehow?" "No," she says firmly. "We'll manage, we always do." Later, As Amara's mother watches from the window, she notices the way her daughter smiles despite her worries. "This Daniel," Mrs. Santiago says when Amara comes inside. "He's more than a friend from the bakery, isn't he?" "It's not like that, Mama. Your eyes say differently." Amara changes the subject, but that night she dreams of her father. In the dream, he's wearing his special shoes and dancing with her mother, both young and carefree. The following Monday, Amara arrives at work to find Mr. Morales in tears. The landlord has given final notice. The rent increase is non-negotiable. The bakery will close at month's end. When Daniel appears, he finds Amara in the alley behind the bakery, angrily wiping tears. "This place was my father's favorite," she explains. "He brought me here every Sunday. When I started working here, it felt like keeping part of him alive." Daniel's chest tightens. His research project suddenly feels hollow compared to the real pain before him. That night, he makes a call from a payphone. "James, I need you to buy a building, anonymously." But sir, with all due respect, this experiment was about understanding community needs, not impulsive purchases. "It's not impulsive, it's necessary." The next day, a letter arrives for Mr. Morales. An anonymous benefactor has purchased the building and reduced the rent to its previous rate. The bakery is saved. Amara is suspicious. It's too convenient. When Daniel arrives, she studies his face carefully. "Did you know anything about this?" "About what?" His confusion seems genuine. Later, as they walk, Daniel notices a pharmacy bag in Amara's purse. "Your mother's medication?" Amara nods tightly. "I sold my laptop." Daniel winces. "For school." "School can wait. Mama can't." That night, in his temporary apartment, Daniel paces. His assistant's warnings echo. "Don't get personally involved. Remember what happened last time." But Amara isn't like the others who'd sought his wealth. She'd given him kindness, expecting nothing in return. The following day brings disaster. As Daniel approaches the bakery, he steps in a pothole. His already damaged shoe splits completely, the sole separating from the upper. Amara laughs despite herself. "Now you really do need that shoe repair." "These were my father's favorites," Daniel admits, the truth slipping out before he can stop it. "One of the few things of his I kept." Amara's laughter fades. She recognizes the sentiment all too well. That evening, as rain again pours over the city, Daniel limps toward his temporary apartment, one foot wrapped in a plastic bag. In his real life, he'd simply order new shoes with a phone call. Now he feels the vulnerability of having no immediate solution, a daily reality for many in this neighborhood. At home, Amara opens the wooden box beside her bed. Her father's shoes gleam in the lamplight. She remembers his words. "Sometimes the things we cherish most are meant to be passed on." Her mother finds her there, tears streaming silently. "You're thinking of giving them to him," Mrs. Santiago says softly. "It's crazy, right? I barely know him." Her mother sits beside her. "Your father would understand. He didn't keep these shoes in a box. He wore them, walked in them, lived in them." "But they're all I have left." "No, Mija. You have his heart. That's why you're even considering this." That night, Amara dreams again of her father. This time he's standing at a crossroads, his shoes in his hands, offering them to her. "They were never meant to sit in darkness," he says. She wakes with absolute clarity. By dawn, she's polished the shoes one last time, wrapped them carefully, and written a note explaining their significance. Her hands tremble, but her resolve is firm. These shoes carried her father from nothing to something. Perhaps they could do the same for Daniel. The morning light filters through the bakery windows as Amara arranges pastries in the display case, the carefully wrapped package sitting beneath the counter. Her heart pounds each time the bell above the door chimes. When Daniel finally enters, something about him seems different. His beard is neatly trimmed. His clothes, though still modest, are cleaner. But his eyes remain the same, lighting up when they find her. "I was hoping you'd be here," he says. Mr. Morales tactfully retreats to the kitchen, giving them privacy in the empty shop. I have something for you, Amara says, her voice barely steady as she places the package on the counter between them. Daniel looks surprised. You didn't need to? Please, just open it. His fingers carefully unwrap the brown paper. When he sees the polished leather shoes nestled inside, confusion crosses his face, then dawning recognition as he remembers her mentioning her father's shoes. Amara, I can't accept these. She pushes them toward him. My father wore these shoes when he first arrived in this country, with nothing but $20 and a dream. He wore them to his citizenship ceremony, to my graduation, to every important moment of his life. Her voice breaks slightly. He always said they carried him from nothing to something. Daniel stares at the shoes, understanding the magnitude of what she's offering. They've been sitting in a box for 3 years, Amara continues. Dad would hate that. He'd want them to help someone else find their way. Daniel gently lifts one shoe, noting the careful repairs, the polished leather, the worn sole that speaks of countless miles walked with dignity. This is the most precious thing anyone has ever given me, he says, his voice thick with emotion. For once he isn't playing a role. The wealth he commands suddenly seems hollow compared to this gift. Try them on, Amara urges. To his surprise, they fit perfectly. As he stands in her father's shoes, Daniel feels the weight of her trust, her kindness. Something shifts inside him. A wall he's maintained since his own father's death begins to crumble. Thank you, he whispers, the words entirely inadequate. Impulsively, Amara reaches across the counter and squeezes his hand. The touch lingers, neither willing to break the connection. That evening, they walk through the neighborhood park, Daniel wearing the shoes that feel increasingly like a burden of truth. Every step reminds him of his deception. I need to tell you something, he begins several times, but courage fails him as Amara points out a family of ducks on the pond, her laughter warming the cooling air. You seem troubled, she finally says, stopping beneath a street lamp that illuminates her concerned expression. Daniel takes a deep breath. These past 2 weeks have been... I've never met anyone like you, Amara. You've given so much. To your mother, to your community, to me, a stranger who offered nothing in return. That's not true, she counters. You've given me friendship when I needed it most. But it's built on... Daniel stops as his phone vibrates in his pocket. The burner phone he's been using wouldn't vibrate like this. It's his real phone, the one he promised James he'd keep for emergencies only. Amara notices his expression. Everything okay? I should check this, he says apologetically, stepping away to answer. James's voice is urgent. Sir, there's been a situation with the foundation. The board is questioning your absence. They're threatening to freeze the community development funds if you don't appear at tomorrow's meeting. I'll be there, Daniel promises, ending the call quickly. When he returns to Amara, her expression has changed. Work emergency? Something like that, he hedges. I need to handle something tomorrow. Of course. Her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes. We all have responsibilities. As they walk back toward her apartment, Daniel makes a decision. After the board meeting, he'll return and tell her everything. He can't build anything real on a foundation of lies. The next morning, Daniel enters the gleaming tower of Reeves Enterprises dressed in his usual tailored suit, his assistant James meeting him at the private elevator. The board is assembled, sir. They're particularly concerned about the East Side Development Project. Daniel nods, distracted. The shoes, are they ready? Yes, sir. The restoration specialist worked overnight as requested. In the conference room, board members fall silent as Daniel enters. He handles their concerns efficiently, his mind elsewhere. When the meeting concludes, he retrieves a sleek box from his office. Sir, James says hesitantly, about this woman. I'm telling her the truth today, Daniel interrupts. All of it. Are you sure that's wise? Your position makes you vulnerable to... She gave me her father's shoes, James. Her father's shoes. The significance is lost on his assistant, but Daniel's tone brooks no argument. At the bakery, Amara is surprised when Daniel doesn't appear at his usual time. By closing, disappointment has settled heavily in her chest. Perhaps he had important matters, Mr. Morales suggests gently. Of course, Amara agrees, trying to sound unconcerned. The shoes probably meant he could find better work. As she locks up, a sleek black car pulls to the curb. The driver steps out, approaching her. "Mrs. Santiago? I'm James, Mr. Reeves's assistant. He asked me to bring you to him." Amara stares blankly. "I don't know any Mr. Reeves." James looks confused. "Daniel Reeves? He said you'd be here." The name registers like a physical blow. Daniel Reeves. The billionaire developer whose company has been buying properties throughout the city. The man whose face occasionally appears in news stories about charity galas and corporate acquisitions. "There's been a mistake," she says coldly. "I know a Daniel, but he couldn't be." James's expression confirms her worst fears. "I see, he hasn't told you." Anger flares, hot and sudden. "Told me what? That he's been lying? Playing some kind of game?" "It's not what you think," James begins, but Amara is already walking away, tears threatening. "Mr. Santiago, please, he's waiting at the community center. He wants to explain everything." Amara stops. "The community center? It's been closed for months." "Not anymore." The renovated community center glows with warm light as James escorts a reluctant Amara inside. The space has been transformed. Fresh paint, new furniture, a computer lab where outdated machines once gathered dust. Daniel stands in the center of the main room, still in his business suit but wearing her father's shoes, now professionally restored but unmistakably the same. When he sees her expression, his face falls. "You know, was any of it real?" Amara demands, voice shaking. "Or was I just research for your next development project, a case study in poverty?" "Amara, please. Did you buy the bakery building too? Was that your anonymous donation?" Daniel's silence is confirmation enough. "To what was this? Slumming it with the poor to ease your conscience? Taking notes on how the other half lives?" "It wasn't like that," Daniel insists, stepping toward her. "Yes, I came to understand the neighborhood better, but meeting you changed everything." "Changed what?" "Your investment strategy. Changed me." The raw honesty in his voice makes her pause. "I've spent years throwing money at problems from a distance, never understanding the people affected by my decisions." Amara crosses her arms. "And now you understand, so mission accomplished. Congratulations." "No," Daniel says firmly. "I came to study a neighborhood and instead found a home, found people who care for each other without agenda, found you. Someone who would give her most precious possession to help a stranger." He gestures to the shoes. "These mean more to me than anything I own, because they represent who I want to be. Someone who walks with purpose, with dignity, with kindness." Amara's anger wavers, but hurt remains. "You could have told me." "At first I was playing a role, then I was afraid. Afraid you'd see me differently, that the money would create a barrier. Everyone in my life wants something from me, Amara. Everyone except you. So you lied." "I did. And I'm sorry." He takes another step closer. "But these past 2 weeks have been the most honest of my life. For the first time since my father died, I remembered why I started the foundation. Not to put my name on buildings, but to help create communities like the one you fight so hard to preserve." Amara looks around the renovated space, conflicted. "So this is what, a grand gesture to buy forgiveness?" "No, it's a promise." Daniel's voice softens. "The community needed this space. That's separate from us." "There is no us," Amara says, but with less conviction. "There could be," Daniel counters gently. "If you're willing to give me another chance. Not as Daniel Reeves the developer, but as Daniel the man who borrowed your umbrella and fixed Mr. Morales' mixer. The man who fell in love with your kindness, your strength, your heart." The word love hangs in the air between them. Amara's eyes widen. "You don't love me. You don't even know me. I know that you work 2 jobs to support your mother. I know you dream of finishing nursing school. I know you remember everyone's coffee order at the bakery and save day-old bread for the shelter on 9th Street. Daniel's voice grows more confident. "I know you miss your father every day but live by his principles, and I know that meeting you has changed the course of my life." Tears spill down Amara's cheeks. Pretty words from a man who makes his living with them. "Then don't listen to my words," Daniel says, closing the distance between them. "Watch what I do. Judge me by my actions from this moment forward." He holds out his hand, not demanding, just offering. "I'm asking for a chance to earn back your trust. To show you who I really am. Not the billionaire, not the homeless man, but someone trying to be worthy of these shoes." Amara looks at her father's shoes on his feet. At the community center restored to life, at the hand extended toward her, and most of all, at the vulnerability in Danielle's eyes. "I'm still angry," she warns, but her hand rises to meet his. "You have every right to be," he acknowledges, relief washing over his features as their fingers intertwine. Outside the window, snow begins to fall, covering the neighborhood in a blanket of possibility. Despite their tentative reconciliation at the community center, the days that follow are strained. Amara keeps Daniel at arm's length, processing the revelation of his true identity. She continues her shifts at the bakery, now bustling with curious customers drawn by rumors of its mysterious benefactor. At home, Amara finds her mother reviewing a letter that arrived that morning. "The hospital called," Mrs. Santiago says. "They've enrolled me in a special cardiac care program, all expenses covered." Amara's suspicion flares immediately. "Daniel, does it matter who?" her mother asks gently. "Pride won't keep my heart beating." "It's not about pride, Mama, it's about honesty." Mr. Santiago takes her daughter's hand. "When your father first courted me, he pretended to be a university student because he thought I wouldn't look twice at a factory worker." Amara looks surprised. "Dad lied to you?" "For 3 weeks," her mother confirms with a small smile. "Until I visited the university looking for him and discovered the truth. I was furious." "What did you do?" "I made him work twice as hard to win me back. But I gave him the chance, because I saw his heart beyond his mistake." She squeezes Amara's hand. "Sometimes people hide their true selves out of fear, not malice." That night, Amara retrieves the newspaper clipping she'd found online, a photo of Daniel at a charity gala, captioned, "Billionaire Daniel Reeves announces expansion of urban renewal initiative." His smile in the photo doesn't reach his eyes, nothing like the genuine warmth she'd witnessed during their walks. Her phone chimes with a text from an unknown number. "The bakery is hosting a special event this Saturday. Your presence would mean everything. D. Saturday morning brings unexpected sunshine after days of winter gray." Amara approaches the bakery to find the street transformed. Colorful banners stretch between buildings, tables line the sidewalk laden with food, and a small stage has been erected near the entrance. The entire neighborhood seems to have gathered, from children racing between tables to elderly residents seated in places of honor. Mr. Morales directs a team of servers distributing pastries, his face alight with joy. "What is all this?" Amara asks him. "A celebration," he replies cryptically. "You should find a good spot near the stage." As if on cue, Daniel appears on the platform, dressed simply but elegantly. The crowd quiets as he steps to the microphone. His eyes find Amara immediately. "Thank you all for coming," he begins. "Many of you know me only as the man who's been buying properties in this area. Some of you have welcomed that investment, others have feared what it might mean for your homes and businesses." Murmurs ripple through the crowd. "What you don't know is that 2 weeks ago I came here undercover, wanting to understand this community before making decisions that would affect your lives. I expected to gather data, take notes, and leave unchanged." Daniel's gaze returns to Amara. "Instead, I found something I didn't know I was looking for. The heart of a community that takes care of its own. And I met someone who taught me what true generosity looks like." He gestures, and James appears carrying a beautiful wooden display case. Inside, Amara can see her father's shoes, now professionally restored and mounted against velvet backing. "These shoes belong to a man I never had the privilege to meet, Roberto Santiago, whose legacy lives on in his daughter Amara and in the values he instilled in this community." Gasps and whispers spread as neighbors turn to look at Amara, who stands frozen in place. Today, I'm announcing the creation of the Roberto Santiago Community Foundation with an initial endowment of $5 million. This foundation will support local businesses, provide educational scholarships, and ensure that this neighborhood grows stronger without losing its identity or displacing its residents. Applause erupts, but Daniel raises his hand for silence. But before we celebrate, I owe someone an apology. He steps down from the stage and walks directly to Amara, the microphone still in hand, but his words meant only for her. I came to you in disguise and accepted your kindness under false pretenses. I'm sorry for betraying your trust. The crowd falls completely silent. These past days without you have shown me what truly matters. Not my company, not my wealth, but the connection we shared. A connection I nearly destroyed with my deception. Danielle gestures to James, who brings forward the display case. These shoes belong to you, Amara. They're your father's legacy. I was honored to walk in them briefly, but now I'm asking for the chance to walk beside you instead. Honestly, openly, for as long as you'll have me. Tears stream down Amara's face as she looks at the preserved shoes, at the community watching with bated breath, and finally at Daniel, his eyes reflecting the same vulnerability she'd glimpsed that first rainy day. You went to all this trouble, she says softly, when you could have just asked. Hope flickers across Daniel's features. I'm asking now. Amara steps forward, taking the display case in one hand and Daniel's hand in the other. My father would say, actions speak louder than words. And what would Amara say? Daniel asks, his voice barely audible. That second chances are earned, not given. She squeezes his hand. But you've made a good start. The crowd erupts in cheers as Daniel pulls Amara into an embrace. Over his shoulder she sees her mother wiping away tears, Mr. Morales raising a celebratory pastry, and neighbors exchanging knowing smiles. 1 year later, the Roberto Santiago Community Center buzzes with activity as children race through the computer lab while their parents attend financial literacy classes. In the medical wing, Mrs. Santiago volunteers at the reception desk, her health improved by the specialized care program. In the main hall, a display case holds a pair of well-worn shoes, alongside a plaque that reads, "From nothing to something, with dignity, purpose, and love." Nearby, Amara adjusts her nursing student ID badge as she prepares for her afternoon classes. The scholarship from the foundation has allowed her to resume her education while still working part-time at the bakery, now expanded into a thriving cafe. Ready for your big presentation? Daniel asks, appearing with 2 coffee cups. As ready as I'll ever be, she replies, accepting the drink gratefully. The board will love your proposal for the mobile health clinic. It's exactly what the foundation was created for. Amara smiles. Speaking of creation, have you told them about your decision yet? Daniel shakes his head. Tomorrow. I want to focus on your moment today. His decision to step back from daily operations at Reeves Enterprises to co-direct the foundation with Amara had surprised everyone except her. She'd seen the change in him long before he acknowledged it himself. As they walk toward the exit, Daniel pauses by the display case, his reflection overlaying the shoes behind glass. Do you ever miss them? He asks. Having them at home, I mean. Amara considers this. They were never meant to sit in darkness, she says, echoing her dream. Here they inspire others. Dad would have loved that. Daniel's arm slips around her waist. He would be proud of you. Of us, she corrects, leaning into him. We're walking the path together now. Outside, spring sunshine bathes the neighborhood in golden light. The street that once showed signs of neglect now thrives with renewed purpose. Not erasing its history, but building upon its foundation, just like the couple walking hand in hand toward whatever comes next. From a nearby bench, Mrs. Santiago watches her daughter and future son-in-law with satisfaction. Beside her sits Mr. Morales, sharing a plate of pastries. Roberto always said those shoes would carry someone from nothing to something, she muses. Monsieur Morales nods sagely. And so they did. They carried a wealthy man to something money could never buy. Love, Mrs. Santiago suggests. That, too, Mr. Morales agrees with a chuckle. But more importantly, a home. As if hearing their conversation, Amara and Daniel turn back, waving for the older pair to join them. Together, the four walk toward the bakery, where the community gathers to celebrate another ordinary day made extraordinary by the simple power of walking in another's shoes.